Diversity receive. So this is something that's never really taken off in the amateur radio scene, and I don't really understand why, because it can be so useful. But I've spoken to a few people about it. Most of them don't know what I'm talking about. So maybe that's your answer. It's just not widely known, and it doesn't sell radios, and the manufacturers don't push it. So there you go. Maybe I've answered my own question, but it's nothing new. I believe they first started experimenting with this in World War II, so it's been around absolute donkey's years. And for those of you that don't know, diversity receive is basically where you have two separate antennas to receive with. You generally want to put them a couple of wavelengths apart, and the idea is your radio will switch between whichever signal is the strongest. So on HF, your signal will tend to change polarity as it bounces off the ionosphere. That's in part what causes the QSB, the fading. So if you have a horizontally polarized antenna, say a dipole, and a vertically polarized antenna, say a quarter wave vertical, then your radio automatically switches between whichever is receiving the strongest signal, and hence you eliminate or at least reduce the fading. Now on VHF, it's a slightly different kettle of fish, because I'm going to do this on 2 meters, and 2 meters is basically line of sight, so you're not bouncing your signals off the ionosphere, so you're not changing polarity. So on FM, our convention is that we normally go for vertically polarized. So ideally you want 2 antennas that are identical, positioned a couple of wavelengths apart. Now I don't have 2 identical antennas, so I'm going to get as close as I can, and I'm going to be doing this in a public car park, so I can't really run long feeder cables across the car park. So we might get a wavelength or 2 apart, but the idea behind it on VHF and UHF is, if you imagine someone with a handheld, so someone else is transmitting on a handheld and you're receiving. Now as they're walking around, moving their antenna around, that signal will tend to drop out a little bit. Now the idea is, if you've got 2 antennas with a space in between them, then at least one of those antennas should receive a half decent signal at any one time. So your radio will change between the 2 antennas, so it should reduce dropouts. At least that's the theory. So I'm going to give that a go today, and there aren't many rigs or many radios on the market that can do this. In fact, I only know of one radio that can do this, and I don't think they manufacture it anymore. I think it was discontinued, but this is a Icom, or the head unit, the main unit for it, the control heads next door. But you'll notice on the back 2 antenna ports. I can't remember which is which off the top of my head. There's a label on here. So yeah, this one is transmit and receive. So on that antenna you'll receive and transmit on that one. This port is receive only. So the idea, like I say, as the signal drops out, at least one of those antennas on receive should be picking up a signal. So that's the idea. A bit later on today, in about 3 hours time, there's an event on which is organised by Tim, G5TM, called 145 Alive, and basically the idea is we go out and set up on hilltops and make as many contacts on 2 meters FM as we can, and bring the 145 megahertz band alive. So hence 145 Alive. It's directed mainly at the new M7, new licensees coming through, but anyone can take part. So I figured that would be a excellent time to take this radio out in the car, set myself up on the hilltop, and try and make some contacts and demonstrate it, because this is the second time Tim's done this 145 Alive, and the last time I did it I noticed there were a couple of people with handhelds or mobile in cars, and their signal was a bit fluttery, a bit in and out. So I'm wondering if using the diversity receive on this Icom, whether that will reduce the dropouts and the mobile flutter. So that's the idea. Let's load up the stuff in the car and get on the hilltop, and we'll see what happens. So it turns out this probably isn't going to be the best demonstration, because one antenna is significantly better than the other, but I can show you. If I don't know how well the camera picks this up, but you can see you've got two antenna symbols here. You've got the left hand one is the receive only antenna, and the right hand one is the transmit and receive antenna. So the transmit and receive antenna is better than my receive only antenna. So you can see there's an arrow there pointing next to my transmit antenna. That's the one that's receiving. If I pull the feeder cable out, you'll see that arrow will move across and point to the other one. So now we're on the second antenna, and you can hear the signal got slightly weaker. So as the stronger signal comes back, as I plug the antenna back in again, you'll see that arrow move back onto the main antenna. So pull it out, arrow goes onto the spare antenna, back in, goes onto the transmit antenna. So that demonstrates the principle anyway, so in principle it's working. So that's diversity receive. Unfortunately, the one really good example I had of this, the battery died in the camera, so I didn't actually catch it on video, which is a bit of a shame. But it was a lady walking her dog, and she was on a handheld, and I could actually see the indicator on the screen on the radio as the radio was switching from one antenna to the other, but there was absolutely no flutter or dropping out in her signal, which I'm sure there would have been if I only had the one antenna, because she wasn't particularly strong either. So it's a very useful thing. I don't know why more amateur rigs don't have it. It's a bit of a shame really, but it's very useful. So there you go. That's diversity receive in a nutshell. Thank you for watching. If you like what I do, please click the thumbs up button. It lets me know that I'm heading in the right direction with the channel and gives me the confidence to keep doing what I'm doing. Don't forget to click the subscribe and also the bell button to be notified when I upload new content. If you don't like what I'm doing, feel free to click the thumbs down button. Just tell me why in the comments below. I welcome your feedback, and constructive criticism will help me to improve the channel. Take care, and I hope you will catch me in the next video.